Well, hello,
How are you?
you. How have you been? I hope you've been amazingly wonderful. I have an announcement for you today. EETV now offers memberships. You should see the Join Now button, and if you become a member, or what I like to call the EETV tribe, you will get exclusive content, motivational Monday chats with me, vlogs, and also mukbangs. So, yes, check it out. Along with each tier of membership, there is, of course, different levels of access and even the option of having a monthly phone call with me or doing video collabs with me. So, check out how to become a part of the EETV tribe. For those of you who have said you would like to see a different side of me, you'd like to see more Felicia and less Attorney Pearson, well, here's your chance. Check us out in the membership options by clicking the Join Now button. I hope you become a member of the tribe. See ya. Hi, how are you? All right, so welcome back to Empowered Esquire TV. If you can hear me, if you can see me, and everything is functioning as it should, please put a Y in the chat. I will wait. Let me take a look at the comments. Hello to everyone. I see the Y's rolling in. Okay, wonderful. So you can hear me, you can see me. So yes, we are back at our regular location, right, with our regular setup. So we should be good to go today on sound and everything else. As you can see, looks tend to change here, right? I have my big hair, rocking my big hair today. So I hope that it is not a distraction to you. Okay. Don't get caught up in everything else. Let's just focus on what we're discussing today. So, before we dive into the topic, I have a big surprise for you. I have one kind of like a real talk moment, and then I have two a surprise. So, let's do our democratic style setup. So, if you want to hear the surprise first, put a one in the chat. If you want to hear my real talk moment first, put a two in the chat. So, one, if you want your surprise first. Two, if you want the real talk, real moment first. Okay, I see a lot of you want your surprise first. Okay, all right, here we go. So, my surprise for you all here on EETV. A lot of you have been asking and emailing, and I would love a podcast. Where's the podcast? We going to get a podcast? You got a podcast. We now have an Empowered Esquire podcast. If you look in the description of this video, you'll see listen to the podcast. You'll see an anchor link, and you will also see a Spotify link. And here's the best part about our podcast: it is completely free. That's right. Listening to the podcast costs you $0. It's totally free. I'm able to provide more content over there on the podcast as well because it's a bit more of a short and sweet, quick hit, right? And it's less of a setup and ring lights and all those things, okay? And of course, if you feel called to donate to either the channel or the podcast, you can do so via my Cash App, which I will put in the chat now. I'm not on my cell though. So bear in mind that I won't be able to pin the comment. I'll just have to keep, every so often putting it back into the chat. But yes, because the podcast is totally free, right? Just like the channel is totally free. So check out the description to this video for your podcast. Now, I know your question might be, do we cover the same topics? We do not. We cover other topics in current event, lifestyle, and things like that. And we also do case updates over on the podcast. So if I've mentioned a case here and you're wondering what's happening with it now, you can check the podcast for an update. All right. Okay, so before we have our real talk moment, let me say hello to everyone in the chat. I want to say hello to the entire OCOV fam over here from the wonderful Miss Diva Divine Light channel. Hello to you as well, Diva. Everyone, you should check out her channel. All right. Hello to Tisha Stewart. Hello to That Nurse 1980. Hello to Jacqueline Jones. Let's see, I'm scrolling here. Hello to Hot 60. Hello to Julius Kane. How are you, sir? I hope you're doing well. Hello to Drinks with D. Hello to Negus Russell. Hello to Armia Benton, Swan X, Karen A, Tariq Knoll. All right, just scrolling. Sis Zahika. Oh, I think that was about my hair. Thank you, Tariq. That's very sweet of you. Let's see. Quack 13? I think it's Quack 13, right? Hello to I Am Queen Newton. I love that name. Hello to China 215. Hello to Truth Soldier. How are you doing? Good to see you again. All right. And everyone, this is my Cash App. I lost myself already. Here we go. And I also see hello to Indigo Forever. Hello to Chief X. What's up, Chief X? How are you? Diva Divine Light. Thank you for putting that out there. That is my Cash App. As I said, we now have a podcast as well. Check the link in the description. All of this content is free. And so if you feel called to give to the content, you're more than welcome to do so. All right. Hello to Spiritual Gangsta. Okay, so let's have, hello to Sheldon Hughes. Let's have our real talk moment, right? Okay, everyone. You know, we all have those days, right? Those days where you're just kind of like, oh, and you're dragging and your energy is low and that was today for me. You all day, I was just dragging and my energy was low. And I really had to coax myself into coming here today because I really just wanted to take a nap, you know? So I want you all to know that everyone, you know, that you see who they may appear to you a certain way, right? They're going through the same ups and downs that you are, right? You know, having those days just like you do. So, real talk moment, transparency moment. I was having one of those days and I really was not in the mood, you know, but I made a commitment to you. And as I've said here on this channel before, this commitment that we've made to each other and this tribe that we've built, this family that we've built, it means a lot to me. And I honor that commitment. Okay. All right, so I hope everyone is doing well. Now, let's get to it. So, I'm sure you've heard that the artist known as Rkelly, real name or government name, as some would say, Robert Sylvester Kelly, has been found guilty of all 9 counts in the Eastern District of New York. Now, there has been much ado about this verdict. We already see a lot of people coming out and sharing their thoughts on the verdict, if you will. And per usual, we see such polarizing opinions with this case, right? It's, you know, all the way over here and then all the way over there. So we see some people who are rejoicing and celebrating and saying, yes, you know, justice for the victims. And then on the other side, we see people who are saying that Rkelly has been railroaded, that this is a miscarriage of justice, and that this is just, you know, an absolute travesty of our criminal justice system. So I'll tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to have an overall conversation about this verdict, about what it means, about the case, and about the history of this case, because we're going to have the conversation today as to whether or not this verdict could be interpreted as just. Was there really enough evidence to warrant this verdict? We're going to have that conversation, okay? And really, what I want you to grasp from our conversation today is that our criminal justice system operates on burden of proof. I'm going to say that one more time. Our criminal justice system operates on burden of proof. And so once charges are proven with evidence, then our system considers that burden of proof to be met, i.e., you get a solid conviction. Okay? And something we'll also mention is appeals, because as we know, it is very likely that R. Kelly's attorneys will appeal this conviction. Okay. All right, we've got a Cash App. Let me go ahead and highlight that. Thanks to Doug for the $5 Cash App. And once more, as everyone knows, you can also give to the channel and the new podcast via Cash App. If you do not want me to announce your Cash App while I'm live, just put an NA in the description. Got it? Got it? Good. Okay, so I've queued up for everyone an amazing article that chronicles this case really from beginning to end and kind of walks us through the history of this case. So we're going to review that, talk about that, okay? And then we'll dive into the actual reading of the verdict. We're going to watch news footage about the verdict. We'll see what attorneys in the media were saying about the verdict, and we'll have that conversation as well, okay? One of my faves in the building. Hello, Tamara Charisse. Thank you for the compliment, ma'am. I am honored. Okay. All righty. Let me go back up to the wonderful comment that Diva left, which makes everything so easy. And I'm going to pull up our article. So before I pull up the article, if you have any questions, any specific portion of this verdict that you'd like to discuss, you can drop it in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to put the article up online. But first, water. Today, I actually have a can of sparkling water / seltzer water. So, I'm not going to display the can because that's not elegant at all. Okay. Let's move on to the article. I don't see any questions about the verdict just yet. All right, so share screen, as it is my way to announce to you when I'm sharing my screen. Why? I don't know. I don't know why I do it. I just do. So here we are. We are on Vox.com. All right. So R. Kelly was convicted. Are we finally listening to Black women? The title in itself is setting us up to have quite the conversation, is it not? Let's try something a little different here. I don't like that because then you can't see the article, right? Not feeling it. Let's go back to that. Okay. All righty. Here we go. It took decades and dozens of allegations for the singer's survivors to be heard. Activists aren't sure the verdict is a turning point. Okay. For the dozens of survivors who came forward, the R. Kelly verdict was 3 decades in the making. After a 6-week trial, the R&B singer was found guilty on Monday of 9 counts of blank trafficking and racketeering. The 54-year-old musician, long accused of disturbing allegations of blank abuse and harassment, was being held accountable. Thank God they got it right this time, says Stephanie Edwards, who tried for 20 years to convince the world that R. Kelly, R word, her niece. Let's have a moment right here and discuss some things that we see coming up here. So first, we see that this trial was 6 weeks long. Many people had a lot of opinions about the length of the trial. For the amount of witnesses that we saw in this trial, let me tell you, 6 weeks is record timing. Okay. Judge Donnelly was not playing. She was, let's go. Come on. Because over 45 witnesses, 6 weeks, she was not playing. Okay. So I actually projected that this trial would be 8, maybe even 10 weeks long, right? So 6 weeks was record timing for this trial. And it is possible that if for some reason some stone was left unturned, the length of the trial might be something brought up in an appeal. Okay. But thus far, it sounds like everything occurred, as it should. It was just done efficiently, right? Okay, so another thing they mentioned in this article is that this woman, Stephanie Edwards, has been talking about what happened to her niece, allegedly at the hands of R. Kelly, for 20 years, everyone. For 20 years. So that means that there was quite possibly 20 years of evidence in this case. We know for a fact that a lot of the things that happened with Aaliyah happened beginning in 94 all the way up until 96, 97, right? So if you take those years and again you fast forward to now, yeah, you're looking at over 20 years of evidence in this case. Now, a lot of people also had, some thoughts and opinions about how long the federal government investigated before they charged R. Kelly. These are some of the things that are coming up now that he's been found guilty, right? A lot of people are saying, well, why did they investigate for 10 years if they had the evidence? And why did they this and that? Allow me to dispel some of the misconceptions for you because it's understandable that when you're not involved with these types of cases, you don't really have the mindset and the perspective of how these cases work. Okay, so allow me. It is typical for the federal government to investigate someone for 10, 15, or even 20 years before they file charges. The reason being, the federal government has both the resources and the ultimate long term vision of wanting to do long term investigations, right? Like I said, first of all, they have the resources to do it. Okay, so your local DA's office is not going to have the same resources as the federal government, but also they have the vision. Notice I use that word vision of long term investigation. Here is why the federal government has that vision. The federal government does not like to lose cases. That's not what they do. The federal government is not in the business of filing charges that they know they probably ultimately will not get a conviction on. And so, because they have the resources, they have the long term vision. They investigate for years and years and years. They investigate for however long it takes for them to have enough evidence to have a solid case. Now, your follow up question to that is, well, is that fair? Is that fair that they, watch someone for 20 plus years and then, they charge this person? Absolutely, it is fair. You know why? Because if the person is not doing anything illegal, the federal government can watch you for 45 years. They won't get any evidence now, will they? If you're not doing something that you should not be doing, they won't garner any evidence. And guess what? They will eventually stop investigating. Yeah, it's that simple. All right, so thank you to Diva. We need more likes. Hey, listen, you really can hit like or dislike because let me tell you, Miss Algorithm, she knows no difference, right? So it makes me know, never mind. It's free though. Hit the like, hit the dislike, however you feel, you're free to feel. No love lost. I still think you're wonderful. Okay. All right, so I see a question in the chat. Hello, M Mac. The question is, I'm curious as to why sentencing is so far away. Shouldn't it have been within 90 days with sentencing guidelines? So, there are a few reasons why sentencing could have been postponed the way that it was, right? And put out to the date that it was put out to, right? One, there could have actually been a request on the part of R. Kelly's counsel to have sentencing put out to a certain extent to allow them to start getting their ducks in a row for the next case. For those of you who are unaware, this is the first trial, but there is another indictment. There is an indictment in Chicago for which R. Kelly will stand trial. So first of all, it's possible that his counsel requested, some cushion time in between so they can get their ducks in a row. It's also possible the court just simply considered that and said, hey, we know you have another trial coming up, so you're going to be incarcerated anyway. Let's give some time in between now and sentencing to allow counsel to get themselves together for your next trial. Possible. Okay. All right. So I don't see any other questions about what we've discussed thus far. So let's hop back. Wait. Best Mimi G. Miss Esquire, can you advise what the minimum and maximum federal sentencing would be for these charges? Yes, we will get to that. Now, we did discuss that in our first video on this R. Kelly case. So if you want a more detailed discussion of the charges, you could go back to that video because we went through the indictments in that video. But we can briefly revisit the indictments a little later on. Okay. Armia would like to know, I don't understand the charges like racketeering and human trafficking. Doesn't that mean there has to be more people than R. Kelly involved? Hello, Armia. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. I think you're a newbie here, right? So, welcome. So, let me have a quick conversation with you about this trial and what occurred. So, Armia, during this trial, the government did establish that there were other people involved in these crimes. As a criminal defendant, every defendant has a right to their own trial. There is no legal rule that says that a defendant has to go to trial with his or her counterparts. In fact, many defendants choose to go to trial without their co defendants because it hurts their case to go to trial with co defendants. So that's the first thing. Okay. Second thing, throughout the trial, the government did mention several other members of the enterprise, right? They did mention other people and the roles that those people played. And two of the people they mentioned have already pled guilty to being a part of the enterprise. So, this misconception that R. Kelly is on trial for all these other people, and these other people are not being held accountable, and no one knows who these other people are. It's an uninformed assumption that you may be hearing. That is false. The government put accomplices on the stand, and these accomplices themselves testified to R. Kelly's involvement in what occurred. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I'm back in the chat here. Karen J says, share, share, share. Yes, please do. Share, like, dislike, whatever you choose to do. I still have love for you. You guys know I'm all about the love, right? Leading with love. Okay. I see another question here. Uh-oh, I lost it. Okay. Cassandra Wiggins says, good afternoon, Miss Esquire. Good afternoon, Miss Wiggins. Or Mrs., I'm not sure. Love your channel. Thank you. Can this be considered double jeopardy in any way? No, it cannot. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad someone asked this question. Shall I take the article down for a moment? Shall I? Why not? Right? I like to do this when we need to have a talk, so like we're looking at each other and we're having a moment. Let's have that moment. Double jeopardy is when the same governmental agency tries to charge someone for the same thing, right? So for the same violation of the law, stemming from the same incident. That is double jeopardy. So here's a layman's example. Let's say that Mrs. Magoo decides that she really, really wants a nice car. So she decides to steal a car. She steals the car in Brooklyn. She is caught with the stolen vehicle. And now she's being charged in Kings County for theft of the car, as well as possession of stolen property because she was in the possession of this stolen car, right? Now, Brooklyn does their investigation and they decide, oh, you know what? We're not going to charge Miss Magoo. I don't know if we have enough, right? And so they shelve it, right? But they continue to investigate. They then decide, you know what? We are going to bring these charges against Miss Magoo. So Miss Magoo is charged, as I said, with theft and possession of stolen property, right? Miss Magoo goes all the way to trial because she says, I really can defend myself here. And she is found not guilty of those charges. Now, a couple years later, Miss Magoo is being charged with stealing the same car. How is that possible? Because Miss Magoo is now being prosecuted by the federal government. You see, it turns out that Miss Magoo took the car on a little joyride and she went to DC and then came back. And now she triggered federal law because she took the stolen property out of the state of New York, went across state lines, and went into another US territory. So it's not double jeopardy because she's not being charged by Kings County. The Brooklyn DA isn't involved. The federal government is now charging her. So double jeopardy does not attach. Why? Because double jeopardy attaches when you have the same governmental agency charging someone with the same violations for the same incident. That's not what you have with Mrs. Magoo. That is exactly what happened to Robert Kelly. Some of these charges and some similar things had been brought up in his state trial, but that is when he was being charged by the state of Illinois. So it doesn't matter that those things were brought up, and it doesn't matter that he was acquitted, because this trial was the United States government. This was a federal prosecution. So double jeopardy does not attach because it is not the same government agency. You got it? Good. All right. All right. I'm in the chat. I want to see if you get it. I want to see if we really get double jeopardy and what double jeopardy means. I mean, tell me, do we get it? Do we get double jeopardy and what that means? Do we get it? Listen, Diva is on it, okay? And so am I. Do not be up to any foolishness in the chat. I got a song for y'all today. Man, I knew somebody was going to act a fool and I was going to get to play this song. So I'm going to play this song for you all, right? Because we're going to have this conversation. If you act up in this chat, if you violate YouTube terms and conditions, if you are disrespectful to anyone at all, you will get blocked. And I don't revoke my block. My blocketh is forever, forever, ever. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure you are being respectful. Keep it nice and respectful in the chat. Now, let me see. Did the song come up? Because I want to find the song about block. I think this is the song. One moment. All right, here we go. We're going to start from the beginning. Shout out to Christiane Porter. I don't know if I'm messing up her name, but she is amazing and awesome. Okay, and let's check this out, shall we? Let's check out the song I have today for anyone who thinks they're going to come into this chat and act a fool. Here we go.
Have you ever been blind? I need you all my baby. Have you ever been blind? Because I'm blocking you today. Have you ever been blind? Don't wanna see your face. Have you ever been blind? Don't wanna see your name. I said, block it, block, block, I wanna block you. Block it, block, block. Have you ever been blind? Oh, have you ever been blind? Please and thank you. Have you ever been blind? Coming back to the church, have you ever been blind? Most time you talking, I'm thinking my mind double block. Double block. Block it, block, block, I'm gonna block you. Block it, block, block, I'm gonna block you. Block it, block, block, I'm gonna block you. Block it, block, block, I'm gonna. Have you ever been blocked?
I want to know. Have you ever been blocked?
Have you ever been blocked?
Have you? Because if you get blocked over here, you are blocked forever. And every time somebody gets blocked, you will give us the blessing of listening to the block song by Miss Charlene. Blockity block forever. Be respectful, be appropriate. I'm glad we had this talk. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to play that song because I've been waiting. I'm like, oh, my way. Have you ever been blind? All righty. Now, someone said that song will forever live in my head. It should. It's a classic. Okay, I need to know, have you ever been blocked? Have you? Because if not, I can make it happen for you today. Now, we are going to hop back into our article. I don't see any more questions specifically about what we've discussed thus far. All righty. So let's do it. Let me find my original, or rather, let me comment again so I have it to pin. Hazel E says she loves it. Girl, I love it too. I love it too, honey. Blockity, blockity, block, block. I'm gonna block you. All right, my Cash App is now in the chat. Let me cue up our article again. What a lovely interlude that was. Lovely, lovely. All right, so we are here. It took the jury just 9 hours to deliberate after prosecutors, with the help of 45 witnesses, 45 witnesses, untangled a web of abuse that targeted Black women and girls as young as 13 and teenage boys. The harrowing stories of these survivors and their bravery to share them helped lead to the R&B superstar's conviction after years of evasion. Now, here is what we heard during the trial. One woman testified that Rkelly gave her blank word when she was 16 and he was 42. Another shared how Kelly locked her in a room for days without food to eventually wake up having being D word and R word. Others on the stand told of Kelly forcing them to get A words, demanding they have blank with other women who were locked up in his studio, coercing them to have blank and perform blank under the threat of a gun, and obsessively recording much of the abuse on video. You all, think about what we just heard. Think about what we just heard. And think about the charges that the government put forth, right? Now, they alleged that Rkelly had an enterprise which he used to abuse these women. Well, the testimony says, I was abused. I was locked in a room without food, right? I was forced to get medical procedures that I did not want to have. I was forced to have blank interactions with people that I did not want to have. That is literally the elements of the charges here. Now, with the racketeering and the enterprise and all those things, as we discussed, there were people who testified, yes, I took this girl from this location to that location. Yes, I took this woman from this doctor to that doctor, right? So now they did prove that Rkelly did these things. And in addition, they proved that other people were involved. That is the definition of a what? An enterprise. An enterprise. All right. And racketeering. Okay. Now, Crime Spotter has a question. Hello to Crime Spotter. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to see you. Crime Spotter would like to know, can't other people be charged too? Crime Spotter, are you late? Are you late? You're an OG. So I'm gonna give you a pass if you're late. I'm not gonna, hang you out to dry because I got love for you. But you're late, Crime Spotter. Run it back a little. We discussed some of the other people in the enterprise, okay? Hello to Nappy Yankee. Hello, hello, hello. And please take his advice. Whoa, I missed some words there. What happened? Nappy Yankee, did you make me nervous? Hello to Nappy Yankee. Take his advice. Thumbs up the video. Share the video. And subscribe to the channel. Okay, again, like I said, like or dislike. Miss Algorithm don't care, and so neither do we. Do you? But it's free, so you might as well choose one. Okay. Keith Weston says, hello, Empowered Aspire TV and chat came over from the Information Man show. Shout out to Keith Weston and shout out to the amazing, okay, eloquent, information man. Shout out to him. Okay, any questions thus far about an enterprise or about any of the harrowing testimony that was heard during this trial? Because if not, we're going to get back into it. All right, and again, we're going through this article because it very succinctly chronologizes. Ooh, I just caught myself there. Huh. You know, I'm a total nerd, so now we can't stop. Now I have to look it up to make sure. Chronologize. There you go. So it successfully presents a chronology of the things that occurred during this trial. Okay, that is why we are walking through this article, because it is a walkthrough of the trial. Got it? You got it? Good. All right. Let's do it. Oh boy. The verdict, many say, is evidence that a cultural tide has turned after years of activism. Since the Me Too movement took off in 2017, Kelly's reckoning has been a major milestone in the music industry, and the first high profile case in which the majority of the victims were Black women and girls. These survivors had to fight especially hard to have their stories be heard and taken seriously. Let's have a quick moment here. What do you think? What say you, my EETV fam? Do you think that Black women and Black girls had more of a difficult time getting their stories heard, getting their truths to be acknowledged? And do you think that that played a role in why Rkelly was uncharged for so long? What say you? So here's the question. Do you think Black women and Black girls had a harder hill to climb to have their stories heard? And do you think that had something to do with why Rkelly was uncharged for so long? I still have the Shirlene song in my head. I just remembered, I need you off my page. Oh, Miss Shirlene is a gem. All right, so I see everyone in the chat saying yes. Everyone says yes. Now, Hazel E has something I'd like us to highlight. Hazel E says, I'm glad everyone is so positive and real in the chat. Y'all care about these babies. It feels good that someone actually cares about our Black girls. Hazel E, I want to say to you, I want to say to everyone in the chat, thank you for caring. I care about, girls and women and young ladies, whatever you want to refer to young women as, right? Of all colors, of all shapes and sizes, and that of course includes women and girls who look like me, right? My melanated mama. So yes, we do care. We care here on this channel, and we're about having real conversations. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so we are going to hop back into it. Let me pin my original comment if I can find myself in the chat. All right, found it. Okay, so let's get back into our article. I can't get that Shirlene song out of my head. That Miss Porter is so talented. Okay. Allegations go back as far as 1996, when a young woman filed a lawsuit against Kelly, saying she was underage when he initiated blank with her. In 2001, another young woman did the same. A year later, police indicted Kelly on 21 counts of blank after an anonymous source sent a tape to the Chicago Police Department. So what are we hearing here, everyone? What we are hearing is what's that word? Pattern. We're hearing a pattern here. And what we're also hearing is another word that we love here on this channel, right? Corroboration / substantiation. So when we talk about this verdict and we talk about whether it was warranted, whether this burden of proof was actually met, we have to discuss these things. You do not have one woman saying this happened to her. You do not have one girl saying this happened to her. You have over 45 witnesses in a trial. You have a string of women beginning in the 90s when we're now 20 years into the 2000s. So you have years upon years of corroboration and substantiation, and years upon years of R. Kelly exhibiting an alleged pattern of behavior. So when you're thinking to yourself, well, is this verdict warranted? I would suggest, I would recommend, in my humble opinion, you think about those things. Okay? We're getting back into it now. Oh boy. Okay. In years since, activists from Me Too founder Tarana Burke uh, to the women behind the Mute R. Kelly social media campaign have worked hard to cultivate a climate that brings attention to Black survivors. The explosive Lifetime documentary series Surviving R. Kelly further brought allegations against the singer to light. Only time will tell if Kelly's conviction will be an outlier or if it means that Black women and girls are truly being recognized and taken seriously in discussions about blank abuse and assault. Much like Harvey Weinstein, who in February 2020 was sentenced to 23 years in prison, Kelly's list of abuses is egregious, excessive, and damning. But there are signs that Me Too fatigue has set in, with the public less interested in following abuse cases. And Kelly's music still remains popular on streaming platforms. Pause. Another moment for the EETV fam to have a conversation. I want to know, do you think that we should still be listening to R. Kelly's music? Give me a Y in the chat if you think that we should still be listening to R. Kelly's music. And if you're catching this on the replay, hey, that means you too. You're a part of this conversation. Let me know in the comments. Do you think we should still be listening to R. Kelly's music? Y in the chat if you think we should. N in the chat if you think we should not. I'm curious. I'd like to know. And then I want to talk to you about the legal implications of people deciding not to listen to his music. I can't get Miss Shirley out of my head. Ah, Miss Porter, I hope I get to meet you one day. You are extremely talented. Okay, so I see a lot of N's in the chat now. Ooh, this is good though. I see some Y's. That's what I want to know. Okay, Swan X and M Mac, you said yes, you would continue to listen to R. Kelly's music. Why is that? Could you tell us? I'm curious to know because we know the reasoning behind someone who says no, right? So, Swan X and M Mac, why is it that you would continue to listen to R. Kelly's music? Please share with us. This is not to put you in the hot seat or to judge you. It's to have a discourse, right? For us to have a little chat together. So we're curious. We'd like to know. We're waiting. While we wait, let's have another conversation. So, Independent Thinker says, I can still listen to it, but not all of it. I paid for it, so it's mine. Okay. I paid him to be an entertain me or to entertain me. Okay. Even at concerts. Okay. So, Independent Thinker is saying music that was already paid for, why, waste your money? I can see that concept. Oh, I see someone new. Hello to the Umarian meme. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Umarian meme says no, he ruined Space Jam. Listen, Space Jam is a classic, man. I mean, we're boycotting Space Jam. You guys let me know. Let me know. And while we're at it, I will be doing an Umar Johnson update at some point soon. Okay, so look out for that. I'm thinking at some point this fall, and I think I'll do it panel style. Right now, bring on a couple of your faves from, as it's called, the sector. I'm looking okay. And Max says I can differentiate the man from the talent and the musician genius. So here's the thing, right? When someone says that they're no longer listening to R. Kelly's music because, or rather, let me flip that. When someone says they are going to continue listening to R. Kelly's music because they do not believe he's guilty, because they believe that he is innocent, I get that. I totally get that. But For someone to say that they do not think he's innocent, they think that he's guilty, but that they are still going to continue to listen to his music, I'm a little perplexed by that. And here is why. As you continue to stream his music, as you continue to listen to his music, then his record company, his distributor, and he himself, the artist himself, continues to benefit financially from your time and your participation. So this is where it gets complicated for me and Mac, because if you believe that he really did these things, do you want to continue to enrich him? Question mark. Question mark. All right. Swanex says the same thing. He made great music. Armia Benson says his music isn't the problem. He is. It would be next to impossible to not listen to Rkelly anyway, because he wrote for and collaborated with other artists. Okay, that is a good point. That is a good point. However, someone could still make a conscious effort not to listen to his music. I mean, if we make a conscious effort, to keep our hair fresh and not go out when it's raining so it doesn't get messed up, if we make a conscious effort to not eat certain things, if we make a conscious effort to make sure that we're wearing things that match, right? We could make a conscious effort if we chose to. We could. All right. I am looking. Crime Spotter says, but can't the victims get some of the profits of the music? How, Crime Spotter? Is there an open civil case? Is there an open lawsuit? Because if there's not an open civil lawsuit, then no, they cannot get some of the profits. All right. Brenda W says, would you listen to it if it was your child he harmed? Probably not. Drops mic. I'm going to leave that there. I do not impress my personal opinion on you. That's not why we're here. So I will never share my personal opinion. Well, I won't say never, because you can never say never. But I don't think that I will ever be sharing personal opinions, right? I want to allow you to express yourself here. Okay. All righty. I see someone says Uncle Shug and they have a flexing emoji. Not sure what that's about. Okay. Alrighty, so let's hop back into our chronology of this trial, shall we? Share screen because I announce it. Why? We don't know. We don't know why I announce it. We just know that I do. All right, here we go. So, I think we were right about here, right? So, some who have long followed the allegations see the verdict as a step forward for the country's most vulnerable survivors. But they note that there's still a long way to go to change the reality that 1 in 4 Black girls will be blank abused before the age of 18, according to the American Psychological Association. It's remarkable the level at which one has to prey upon Black girls and women for there to be this kind of recognition, says Trevor Lindsay, a professor of women's, gender, and blank studies at Ohio State University. It took 3 decades of allegations, a docuseries, and a Mute Rkelly campaign, and more to even produce the moment that we're in. But the systems that enabled Kelly are still intact. Oh boy. Okay. From blank allegations to surviving Rkelly, what led to a conviction? In 1994, Kelly illegally married R&B singer Aaliyah when she was just 15 years old. When news of their relationship broke, it was mostly discussed as a misguided choice made by a mentor and protege in love, not one of abuser and victim. Now, I have to stop there. You guys know I always have my little tidbits that I have to add. I'm going to take it back a bit because there's something that I want to add about the abuse of Black girls and the APA. Okay. When are we going to stop keeping these kinds of secrets, people? I'd like to know. And no, I'm not calling out the Black community because this happens across the board. Okay. So to every person, let me tell you some, you know what? I see someone in the chat and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to address you. You've just been blocked. Blockity, blockity, block, block. I'm going to block you. Dondria, you got yourself blocked. Have you ever been blocked? Now you have. The blocketh is forever. So my question is, when are we going to stop doing this? When are we going to stop doing this as a society? Because the secrecy is all the way around. When are we going to stop telling victims not to talk about it? When are we going to stop telling victims, oh, the family will handle it? The family will handle it. Do you know how traumatizing it is for a victim to go to a Thanksgiving dinner with their abuser, to go to a Christmas dinner with their abuser, and their quote unquote family is telling them to let it go, telling them to keep it a secret. And it's a shame they have to walk around with as though they have done something wrong, not as though they've been wronged. When are we going to stop? That's my question. When do we stop telling victims that they are supposed to be keeping secrets for predators? I'm wondering, when do we stop? You let me know. And if you're catching this on the replay, let me know. When do you think it stops? When do you think we stop telling victims to keep secrets? All right, Roger Sherman II said, how can we as Black men help more? You can stand up for the women in your purview. Listen, if you have a niece, if you have a daughter, if you have a sister, if you have a mother, right? Pull that woman to the side, right? And say to her, listen, I am here for you. If anyone ever wrongs you, if anyone ever harms you, you come to me. You don't keep it a secret. You come to me. I will protect you, and I will see to it that that person sees justice. That is what you can do, Roger Sherman II. And salute to you. Kudos to you for even asking what you could do. Everyone, let's take a moment. Clap it up for Roger Sherman II. This is what we need, everyone. If you are a man walking about, living about today, be there for the women in your life. This is what we need, everyone. Okay? All right. Someone is driving by blasting reggaeton. Boy, I tell you. Okay, so let's dive back into the article, shall we? Roger Sherman, I'm going to leave you up there because, man, I'm proud of you today, man. You go, Roger. Man, you go. All right. Let's get back into the article. Oh boy. So we were down here with Kelly marrying Aaliyah, again, with the music industry treating it like it was a mistake, not like it was obviously a problem. All right. What more made headlines than the illegal marriage, though, was what many people called Kelly's blank tape. In June 2002, the self titled Pied Piper, we're not even going to touch the fact that he referred to himself as the Pied Piper. We won't even go there, okay? Because that in itself should have been everyone looking like, okay. The video in question had been widely copied and sold, earning a place in the cultural discourse with comedians joking about the golden showers and Kelly's kinks. All right, everyone, we're going to have a moment of confession here, okay? We're going to have, oh, wait a minute, Crime Spotter in here with the patois. Crime Spotter said, anyone do it to my family, they will get slapped with. Listen, no comment because I can't, as a lawyer, comment on that. All right. So, let's have a conversation about, or should I say, a moment of confession, right? How many of you saw the Dave Chappelle special that he did on Rkelly, where he made fun of the tape? If you saw the Dave Chappelle skit where he made fun of the Rkelly tape, put a Y in the chat. So here's a question that you need to ask yourself. When we all saw that skit and, it was presented as comedy, why did we never stop to think, oh, wait a minute, but that tape was, it featured a little girl. Why is that? Is that a societal thing? Is it? Again, I'm not going to give you the answer, but you tell me, when we all had these skits and these comedic moments, why did we never stop to think, oh, that video was actually portraying a little girl? Ask yourself, okay, so there's a question here that I wanted to address. I hope I didn't lose it. All right, so Greg says, I wonder how much time R. Kelly will get. Well, all of the media outlets are correct. he is facing up to 100 or more years in prison, depending on the sentencing that is handed down, right? And as we know, sentencing can depend on different factors in a case, and we will get to that. We will talk about sentencing in the Eastern District, okay? Oh boy. All right. Hazel E says that Dave Chappelle skit, along with others, is a part of the reason it wasn't taken seriously. Could be. Could be. Yeah. Could be. I'm going to quickly glance at our article to see how much more oh wow. Okay, so this article is quite lengthy, and although I'm loving it, I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm kind of biased, of course. I do want us to have the conversation about the Eastern District and sentencing, okay? By the Eastern District, I mean the Eastern District of New York, of course. Okay. Alrighty, so let me hop in the chat. If you have any questions about anything that we have discussed thus far, feel free to let me know. I will answer those questions, and then we will get into the potential time that Rkelly faces in this case. I'm going to give you all a moment. You all know my way is to give you a moment whilst I have my water. Alrighty, I don't see any questions. I do see a comment that I'd like to highlight, though. Greg says the EDNY is notorious for hanging defendants with large sentences. Well, I will say this. Does the Eastern District of New York have a representation for being lenient? No. That is what I will say. I will say their reputation is definitely not one in which you could say that they are known for being lenient. We will say that. Okay. All righty. So I don't see any. Oh, wait. Here we have a question before we hop in. M. Mac says, not excusing his actions, but why wouldn't his attorney seek a being incompetent to stand trial motion? Well, and Mac, that's something you seek when your client is actually incompetent. We didn't see anything that hints that Rkelly was incompetent. We didn't see any mental breaks or any history of mental health issues. All right, Hazel E would like to know, do you think the feds have been watching Rkelly for decades, or that they started after the Surviving Rkelly documentary aired? So, Hazel E, I got a treat for you. I'm going to put in the chat the link to the original video I did in this case. I probably should put it in the description too, right? Totally. Because in that video, we actually go through the indictment. And as we're going through the indictment, the government admits that they had been investigating him for years. Okay. All righty. M. Max says that CBS interview was a mental breakdown. No, it wasn't. Having emotion does not mean you're having a mental breakdown. Everyone and anyone can have emotion. Roger Sherman II says, I think his 30 years of abuse shows he is competent. Interesting. Hello, Black Anonymous. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's get into it. So I am going to show you something that we have seen before, right? This is the original press release from the Department of Justice. Why? Because they tell you in their press release how much time he is facing. So you don't need to do any guesstimation, right? They tell you how much time he's facing. And who would know better than the DOJ? And by DOJ, I mean Department of Justice, because it's them that's charging him, right? Okay, let's get into it. Share screen, Chrome tab. All right. If you're new here, you've never seen this before, but if you are an OG, you saw this in our first video on Rkelly's case. So we're going right down to the bottom here, okay? Right here. But you know what? Briefly, since we do have a lot of newbies, we are here on the website for the Department of Justice. We are here at the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. Why am I announcing this? Here's why. When you have a case of this type of notoriety, you do not have to rely on any of the gossip sites or anyone else to tell you what is happening in the case. The government themselves will tell you. They will issue their own press release because they know it is a case of notoriety and they know the public is wondering and they do not want misinformation to get spread around, right? So, if you're new here, this is new to you. If you're an OG, bear with us. We got to walk the newbies through it, right? They have to take their time easing on into the water. Okay. All right, newbies. So here we are. This is the original press release by the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. Here they talk about the charges. I'm going to do a copy and paste right here into the chat. So you have this to browse yourself if you want to, right? And then we're just going to focus on this portion right here at the end. Listen, if convicted, Kelly faces a sentence of up to 20 years of imprisonment for the racketeering and 2 Mann Act and coercion and enticement counts, respectively. Okay. And up to 10 years for each of the Mann Act transportation counts. So here is what we'll do. We'll click this attachment here because look, they even put the indictment. So click this attachment. You can't see where I've gone, can you? No. Okay, I'll share that with you as well. Let's go remove this. We'll go share screen. Oh, it stopped. Chrome tab, because I want you to see the indictment. Here we go. So now you can see the indictment, right? Here we go. So we know that it's up to 20 years of imprisonment for the racketeering and the 2 Mann Act and coercion and enticement counts, right? So we already know that we have 20 years. We got that on our little notepad already. I wish I had a pen with me, but I don't. Anyway, 20 years, okay? Up to 10 years imprisonment for each of the Mann Act's transportation counts. So now we're in the indictment. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. We are, again, if you want to see this more in depth, go to the first video. Right now, we're doing this solely for the purpose of adding up potential jail time. So we have 20 years. We have Mann Act, right? And we know what? That each Mann Act transportation count is up to 10 years. Okay, transportation, Mann Act. So now we're at 30 years. Okay. Mann Act. We don't see anything about transportation here. Okay, Mann Act, racketeering. We see Mann Act. Okay, so now we're at 40 years because we see Mann Act and we see transportation. I don't think we saw transportation up there. All right. Page 9, so we're at what? 40 years, we said, right? Okay, keep that in mind. All right, we have transportation again. So what is that? 50 years. Okay. Mann Act, transportation again. So what is that? 60 years. Okay, page 11, transportation again. So where are we at? 70 years. Okay, page 12, transportation again. So what are we at? 80 years. Okay, let's keep scrolling through. You know, we could just do Control F and do transportation, right? Yeah, we could. I thought of that too late, you all. What are we at? 80 years? You guys tell me in the chat. Are we at 80 years right now? Is that how far we've gotten? Let me know, everyone. I think we were at 80 years. Karen J says counts 2, 5, 6, and 8 are transportation. Okay, we're at 80 years. Okay. Alrighty, so approximately 80 years, and we're on page 13. Okay. Oh, but you know what? I don't know if you know what? We're going to have to take that L because I'm not sure if we mentioned that one. All right. Page 14. Okay, another transportation. So now we're at potentially 90 years. Okay, page 15. Another transportation count. So now we're at potentially 100 years. Okay, page 16. We're into forfeiture. Okay, and we're at the end of the indictment. All righty, so our count, mind you, that we had to do that count kind of quick and dirty, right? So we may have what's the word I'm looking for? Missed something here or there, right? So our count, we were at what? A potential 100 years. And in the media, people are saying potentially 100 to 140, right? So the media is not reporting it, wrong necessarily, because per our quick count that we just did, he's facing potentially 100 or more, right? Now, I also want you to bear in mind that the reason that we are not combing through that indictment is because we did it already. So we're not going to do it again, right? That's not fair to everyone. So if you want to comb through that indictment and go through the charges, I did that in my first video on this case. So, yes, we know for a fact he's facing a potential 100 years. Could be a little more, could be a little less. Okay, so if you were wondering how much time he's facing, and if you were wondering if the media is reporting that correctly, they are. He is facing 100 years, give or take, as I said, a little more or a little less. That is correct. Now, does that mean he'll be sentenced to 100 years? Of course not, right? He could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he will be. We'll have to wait and see what the actual sentence comes down to be, okay? Crime Spotter says, will I cover the Ami and a Hellcat situation? Maybe, how about I'll add it to my poll. I'll ask everyone on the channel if they want to hear about Ami and a Hellcat. And if you do, then all right. Rockin' with the Truth says this is an estimate, not exactly. Of course, everyone, this is an estimate. No one can tell you exactly how many years he's facing. You want to know why? Because we are not the people doing the sentencing. The only person that could give you the exact number is the person doing the sentencing. Okay? Okay. All right. Rockin' with the Truth says 50 for New York and 50 for Chicago. If so, it's over. We shall see. You never know. As I said, just because he is potentially facing 100 or more doesn't mean he will actually be sentenced to 100 or more. We will have to wait and see. That's it. And anyone online who is alleging to know exactly how many years he's facing and exactly how many years he will be sentenced to, do not listen to them. I am telling you, they don't know. Everyone is making an educated guesstimation because a judge has wiggle room based upon the factors of the case. So no one knows for sure. Do not be fooled by people who come online and give you absolutes, okay? Because they're giving you an absolute that they're just pulling out of their mind. They're pulling it out of the sky. You're safer with people who admit that it's an approximation. Okay? All right, as Nappy Yankee said, like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. You might be asking yourself, why should I subscribe? And I have one answer for you. Because you want to grow, because you want to learn. And that's what we do here, learn and grow together. So if you're going to be subbed to all these channels where you're watching, stuff and fluff all day, why not be subbed to somewhere where we're having mutual edification? Why not? Okay, so questions. The floor is open for questions now. Any questions about this trial? Any questions about the verdict? Any questions about sentencing? Put your question in the chat. And also, if you're catching this on the replay, hello, how are you? You too. Any questions you have, you can put in the comment section. Someone would like to know if I will do a show on V-word laws. We'll see. I'll add that to the poll. Hello, Wings. Okay, Crime Spotter's question is, should R. Kelly be under S word watch? If he's shown signs of self-harm, yes. But if not, they would have no reason to do so. Peace, peace, peace to Tripsy's Treehouse. Y'all go over to her channel and check her out. Swan X has a question. When will his lawyers apply for an appeal? So, his lawyers have a certain amount of time to appeal, right? His lawyers have typically 30 days to appeal the conviction. However, right, these things differ and fluctuate based upon sentencing, right? So sentencing does add some kind of cushion time in there as far as when someone can appeal. And also, criminal cases tend to have longer stretches of appeal time and appeal restrictions, right? Because of the fact that, again, you have the constitutional right to your life and your liberty. So when they're taking away that constitutional right, they add more wiggle room there. So in your typical trial, civil trial, right, it will be 30 days, hard and fast. That's it. But in criminal trials, you see longer stretches before you have motions to appeal because they are granted more time. Okay. But I can guarantee you they will appeal it, by the way. I can guarantee you they will appeal this conviction. Again, they do not want to be accused of malpractice. And so when you're representing a criminal defendant and they're handed down this kind of sentence, you have to appeal. So they will appeal. They will appeal. Black Anonymous has a question. Here's a possible unrelated question. Do you speculate on how the amount of years he is sentenced will affect the value of his musical catalog? That would be a very vast speculation. You know, you never can tell. It could make his music more popular. It could tank his catalog. You never know. We see rappers like Tekashi 69 sometimes have a burst in their catalog when they enter incarceration because they get quote unquote street cred, right? Street credibility. So you never know. You never know. Sebeldo, I hope I said that right. Sebeldo. Could the sentencing judge take into consideration R. Kelly being a victim as a child? Yes. So the judge has wiggle room to consider certain things. There is the ultimate wiggle room phrase in the court of law, and it is called the interest of justice. And so, in the interest of justice, the judge always has wiggle room to consider certain things. And it is likely, yeah, it is possible, yes, that the judge could consider that R. Kelly was allegedly a victim of abuse himself as a child. And that is something that perhaps the judge will consider in sentencing and maybe go towards the lower end and not towards the maximum. Okay, we got a really good question here about appeal. Oh my goodness. Winston Johnson says, what's his chances of winning an appeal? Well, we would be speculating if we were to say whether he has good chances or fair chances or poor chances or something of that nature, right? But we will say this. I will go as far as for us to have this conversation. What are some things that occurred that they could possibly include in appeal? Well, we know that the defense counsel made several motions about R. Kelly's constitutional rights being violated due to communication issues between him and his attorneys. So you can bet that one of the arguments in their appeal will be that R. Kelly's constitutional rights were violated. You can bet that. Carolyn Spencer says, all I want to say is thank you for your time. Thank you, Carolyn Spencer. And all I want to say to you is thank you for being here. All right, Diva Divine Light says they have 90 days to appeal. Am I right, Miss Esquire? Yes. But as I said, with criminal cases, they do have more wiggle room because remember, you have that constitutional right to life and liberty. So civil cases, it's a hard and fast 30 days. But criminal cases, it gets a little bit more flexible, which is why I said, this to that. It's more flexible because that right to life and liberty is considered to be very, very serious. And it's very rare that a court will be so hard and fast with that because they don't want to be accused of denying someone their constitutional right to life and liberty and the ability for them to appeal a judgment that could possibly keep them in prison for the rest of their lives, right? So with things like sentencing and this and that and constitutional rights, you get more flexibility in criminal court when it comes to things like appeals, okay? Lovell's Fair, I hope I said your name right, says, Miss Esquire looking good. And to that I say, gracias. All righty. I see some other questions. I'm going to just put my little Cash App in the chat one more time for those of you. And again, if you don't want me to say your name, just put an NA in the description. All right, I see a question here. Octavius Prime, what is your opinion on the Mann Act, vagueness of the act, and its origins? So let me say this, Octavius Prime. If the origins of a law are unfair in nature, right? And then the law is applied in a way in which it actually vindicates and provides justice for victims, what are we to do? Are we to repeal a law because we don't like the way it began, even if it's being used in a good way? What are we to do? The origin of our country is controversial. Are we going to repeal the corporation, the United States corporation, and start all over? I mean, you tell me, you know? And so when we're having conversations about the origin of the Mann Act, when we're talking about Rkelly's conviction, I have to start wondering if people are just trying to make excuses for a man who was just convicted. I have to wonder. Okay, Independent Thinker, how you doing? Independent Thinker says, could the feds go after fans who harass the victims or their parents even after the trial is over? Yes. If you are a blogger, vlogger, Rkelly supporter, and you think that it is okay to cyber harass and cyber bully people who are involved in the trial, be careful. Be careful. That's a federal offense. Okay. I am in the chat. If you have a question, drop your question in the chat. And Mac, with this much time, is it possible that he can serve the time consecutively, or does the sentencing guideline force the judge's hand? So usually when it comes to concurrently and consecutive and things like that, judges have leeway, right? It's very rare that a judge does not have leeway when it comes to that. So all of those details will be decided by the judge. Now, the only time when you have the two parties involved getting involved in that is when you have a plea negotiation. So if Rkelly were to have negotiated a plea deal with the prosecution, then he would be able to do that back and forth of, well, can we say consecutive? And then after the negotiation, both Rkelly's defense counsel and prosecution would present this deal to the judge and ask the judge to accept the agreement they have reached, right? That is really the only time when you get the two parties being involved in whether it's consecutive or concurrent, okay? So unless the statute specifically speaks to that, the judge will have leeway in deciding whether or not the charges are consecutive, or I shouldn't say charges, the sentence runs consecutive or concurrent. And if you're wondering what that is, consecutive is right after the other, right? So consecutive is 10 years for this charge, then 10 years for that charge. So 20 years. Concurrent is running together, flowing at the same time. So concurrent would be 10 years for one charge and 10 years for another charge. But in fact, it's 10 years because the days on each sentence are ticking at the same time. All right, I am in the chat, checking it out, saying hello, and looking for... Come on, man. We're still making these statements. My personality jumped out again there. You know, I tried to be Esquire here, but no, we got to do this today. Didn't we just have this conversation? The entire trial established an enterprise via the testimony of the other members of the enterprise. You can be charged individually for being a part of an enterprise. They don't have to charge the whole enterprise at the same time. R. Kelly was convicted for being a part of an enterprise. Come on, people. We're better than this. I know we're better than this. I know, okay? An enterprise under the law is a group of people in concert committing illegal actions together. So R. Kelly was charged with being a part of an enterprise because he was committing illegal action and other people were a part of those illegal actions. That's what he was convicted of. He wasn't convicted of he himself being an enterprise. The indictment doesn't say Robert Kelly is an enterprise. No. Robert Kelly was charged with being a part of an enterprise. Say it with me one more time, everybody, because man, I can't believe we're not past this. R. Kelly was charged with being a part of, a part of. I got to do the Umar Johnson for y'all. A part of an enterprise. Come on now, people. We're better than this. I know we are. Nappy Yankee, should Bill Cosby be quiet with his borderline endorsing of R. Kelly, given his own impending litigation on similar issues? Can this hurt him? I'll tell you what, if I was Bill Cosby's attorney, I would tell him to enjoy his golden years and to be quiet. Alrighty, NE, you're late. You're late, NE. And I say this with love, but you got to go back to the beginning of the stream and you got to watch our first video and our second video and our third video on this case. We do not have time. Let me tell you, the enterprise was so large, we don't have time to tell you who else was in the enterprise, okay? You got to catch up. Hello to Let Me See Your Transcript. How are you? How are you doing? Okay. Alrighty, so listen, you guys know I'm usually on here for an hour. So unless you have any further burning questions, I'm going to hop on out. Okay, so listen. Thank you for joining me as somebody rides by on a motorcycle. Thank you for joining me for another installment of Empowered Esquire TV, where we empower you with legal knowledge. I hope you feel powerful and amazing because you are. You are. I mean that. All right. So if you're catching this on the replay, what say you? Do you think that R. Kelly was justly convicted? Or do you think that, as some people have said in the media, he was railroaded, right? What are your thoughts on this case? And what do you think about the statements that are being made about Black victims of these types of crimes? I'd like to know. And before we head on out, I want to highlight Eric Summers' comment. Eric Summers says, too many Black males defending R. Kelly. Y'all got to chill. I'll leave it at that. You all have a wonderful night, evening, morning, afternoon, if you're catching this on the replay, of course. And I hope that you are well. I'll see you.